School is morally degrading. Controlling children is done through imposing domination over their physical body, Montessori explains. Today we hold pupils in school, restricted by those instruments so degrading to the body and spirit, the desk, and material prizes and punishments. Our aim in all of this is to reduce them to the discipline of immobility and silence, to lead them where? Far too often toward no definite end. The imprint of school. The imprint of school is not education, as you may have thought it was. It is enslavement of your child's spirit. The purpose of school is to train your child to become malleable in a spiritless automation that can be controlled and manipulated. The purpose of school is to subjugate, to teach people how to listen to authority rather than to be an authority. Our children suffer because they are raised in an alienating way, in which school becomes their surrogate parents. We have sold out our children to the state. Children really are not psychologically designed to follow imposed rules. That's why they're wild and they want to run around and do stuff and play. The children are designed to copy their parents and the older children. Yet the subverted, natural, outgoing movement of a rule-following child creates an inner rebel that he hides. The inner rebel sneaks to the surface, and the side effects of oppression spill out in subtle ways. Rule-following does not allow and does not ultimately produce the outcome of obedience because of the altered inner energy currents. So, for example, a rule-following child sits still at his desk, but he's humming to himself and thinking, and it looks like he's listening, but really he's not listening. He will ignore the teacher, he will draw, he will color, and do anything he can to fight the imposition of authority against his own natural desires, so long as he can do it without getting caught. Oppressing children through outer discipline teaches them to learn subtle and sophisticated methods of rebellion that we ignorant adults either do not have the energy to do anything about or we pretend not to see. Outer discipline will never create absolute self-discipline. Only inner discipline, freely chosen by the child, will create true discipline. A true support system would encourage children to pursue their own inwardly driven goals and desires, and over time, through this, they will develop self-discipline, not through being told what to do. At the opposite end of the spectrum, we have the rule-breaking child. Remember, this is a spectrum, and children either break rules or follow rules based upon their own personal mood and the outer situation. The rule-breaking child have to control their life spirit as well, but they are unable to hide their self-control well. They are too much in contact with the pleasure of physical life and of being in the world to suppress their movements to the point where they can be obedient. The rule-breaking child will feel good when he does bad things. He will be happy to get thrown out of class and face another meeting with the principal. Until I became a good boy in 5th or 6th grade, so I switched to becoming a rule follower. When I was a rule breaker, I would always get thrown out of class on purpose. After 6th grade, I became excessively shy and did not continue to be a rule breaker. The shyness was likely due to poor diet. An effort might be made to crush the rule-breaking child by all means necessary: physical violence, isolation, and other threats that are severe to the child. While the rule-breaking child keeps his life energy, it becomes untamed, reckless, perverse, and destructive because he is not allowed the natural growth and maturation process to learn how to channel his rule-breaking energy into healthy and positive ways. So his outward movement towards life, towards love, towards the source of life, becomes channeled in the wrong direction towards fighting the imposed authority, the teacher, the society, and so forth. There is a place in our society where we honor the rebel, We admire the rebel because we all have the reckless, rule-breaking rebel within us. And we would love to set our inner rebel free, but rebels are caught in a bind. Because the rebel has not been honored and nurtured, he will desire to be rebellious in a way which are destructive, because that is the underlying method that his schooling years taught him to do. In other words, as the rebel grows up, releasing the rebellious energy might lead to destructive and inappropriate behaviors, but holding on to it means controlling the pleasure stream. So here the rebel needs to be carefully let out so that his free energy can be reincorporated into the adult psyche without causing too much destruction. The point that I want you to get here about the rebel is that schooling is not nurturing the inner being of the child. They're not being nurtured to be who they are. They're not being nurtured to be constructive with their energy. So the rule-breaking child, he's going to believe that his energy current is bad because he's always punished for breaking the rules. And as an adult, he will likely do bad things or be very confused with his own behaviors. Whereas if he was in a less structured, less authoritative environment, the rule breaker would feel free, and slowly his rebellious energy would turn into constructive energy, or maybe it was constructive energy, and school makes it rebellious energy. Activity, let the rebel free. Rather than just talking about the problem, let's do something about it. The inner rebel inside of you has been hurt, punished, coerced, and manipulated. Not letting it out leaves you feeling obstructed. Letting it out might lead to destructive behaviors. This is a bind. What can you do? Imagine the rebel in you. Feel it. Give the rebel permission that he always wanted or needed, or she, to be free. The rebellious child really was the child who wanted to play, who wanted to be innocent, who wanted to be free. This reminds me of the poem by David Whyte's Sweet Darkness, and he has it's really great, but one of the most potent lines in the poem says, "You must learn one thing, the world was made to be free in." So you want to speak to that inner rebellious part and tell him or her, and give to her that freedom, and tell him the world was made to be free in. The space, that inner child that wanted to be free and play and experience life, did not have the space and compassion and caring from the society who was too ignorant to nurture that part of ourselves. So when we give our own inner rebel the nourishment, it'll slowly heal the destructive impulses, and slowly the rebel will come out again in her true nature, which is good.